going to do another video now just to show the two essays side by side, and the reason I think that's going to be relevant is because you can see very clearly what's missing in one and what's added in the other. And remember, in saying this, I'm not knocking or denigrating a C in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, for a lot of people, that's as you know, as good as they might be able to get, and a real achievement for them, and they should be proud of that. I'm just trying to show where the idea of people who, especially who are looking at trying to get above a C, or who are supposed to be getting more than a C, should be aiming for. So anything I say here that's missing in the C grade, I'm not knocking the C grade at all. I'm just saying that this is why it's not gaining an A. So in the opening, obviously you can see here that the writing is just kind of a lot more fluid and a lot more confident than how simplistic this is. In the actual opening ideas here, we've got the quotations here they are actually this quotation is actually embedded, but the actual discussion of why the writer has chosen to do it is very simple. We see here we've got kind of one quotation and then one idea linked to it. But here we have 1, 2 quotations, obviously kind of blended in, and then we've got lots of ideas actually anchored to that. So we're looking at it from the audience's point of view. We're actually making an insight into the rest of the text. We're actually looking at the time, and we're actually looking at the so again, another reference to other people in the text, and we're looking at the the theme or the idea that the writer's actually trying to get across. So in our first two paragraphs there, we see a rather large difference. And again, you're going to see that time and time again. Like towards the end, I'm going to stop pointing out because obviously I'm just going to be repeating myself. But that's the real feel that you get from it straight away. So again, here we're talking about how she feels guilty. And here we've gone into a little more detail before we've actually gotten there. And what we're looking at here is how the rest of the family, you know, are of no use to her, and obviously we're looking at a theme that we don't even discuss on here, the fallacy of the idea that, you know, in being married, then, you know, that's all a woman has to aspire to, etc. Because you know, this essay doesn't even touch upon that. This essay on the right here doesn't even touch upon that theme, but it's discussed in some detail here on the left. Here she is where we actually are back to the same one. We're actually 3 paragraphs into this one where we actually make the same kind of comment that this first one was making. And here we have again just from the writer's point of view, and we're also looking at obviously her speech. So we're more abundant in what we actually say is or what should we highlight as a reason for any given thing. So while I've already mentioned earlier that she does like the ring in a couple of paragraphs ago, just like I've mentioned here we actually have her admiring the ring. We actually talking about her language and how simple it is, and obviously we're talking about what the writer is actually doing with that, whereas obviously that doesn't really happen in this one over on the right here. Now when we've actually got to the idea, and again it happens all the way through here as well. So when we get to the same point in the essay terms, so obviously the beginning in both we're actually just talking about how she was, and then we look at how she starts to change. Here when she actually starts to change, she finds out, she's just saying about how she feels, etc., and that the writer's showing us, you know, that she should change. But here we actually, obviously the writing's a lot better first and foremost. We actually look at other characters' reactions to it as well, and then we actually what she's actually doing by hanging around and actually being there. You know, she's taking a stand for society, taking a stand for women, etc. So it's all the ideas that we're actually exploring here, rather than just looking at the you know, exactly what's being said to us in the text. And that's what's more insightful and more exploratory. So yeah, actually even now I can actually realize the benefit of doing this video, because you can really see it quite clearly, or how one develops over the other. Again, here we got the stage directions used, which is fine, and the writer did this because the audience relates about changing. But here we just go into everything in a lot more detail, and obviously the writing is a lot more fluid, and we look at the way that we've got we've actually got evidence of her taking responsibility for things herself, and we've also got this reference here to the actual stage directions, the use of it, and obviously the metaphor that's being kind of alluded to there. But obviously we don't have any of those kind of references in the C grade essay. In actually improving herself, you know, we've got, again, just to say one quotation here, and then we use the same quotation here, 2 quotations here, and here we also have the insight that she has into other characters. So we're not obviously just looking just at how Sheila's changing, which we're doing here is that she realizes that the inspector isn't right. In this essay, what we're also looking at is you know, her still showing her independence while doing that same thing. So it's a kind of a quote that shows 2 things. She is standing up for herself. She is joining the inspector in obviously saying this to Jared here, you know, you've done things that you're not afraid of, you know, but we've just done it. We've addressed a lot more items than we've just addressed with this one here, and obviously then we've analyzed it in a lot more detail. And again, we made a reference to the text. So again, you can see why that's clearly a lot stronger in just the levels that it's actually developing. Here we go. Also, Sheila and Eric do not want to just feel good, etc. The writer's telling us about socialist ideas, etc., etc. And here we're looking at a different theme, the idea of the independence actually growing, because it's more of a complex idea to deal with than the socialist one. Because the socialist one is just very, to kind of have a socialist ideal, you have to kind of have your own independent rational mind, or at least that's what this argument, from Priestley's point of view, is offering or arguing. So to get to this one here, this is kind of very like a very obvious idea. This is like saying like blue in and of itself, and this one's like saying, it's sea wash blue or something. It's just a lot more detailed. It's the same idea, but obviously the independence is the root of the kind of political stance of socialism, and obviously that's really important to highlight Sheila as a complete person rather than just as a theme that Priestley's actually putting across. And then obviously the way this one ends, obviously in conclusion, we're just looking at retelling the question in a way, just making sure that we actually hit everything, whereas here we actually end with something original. Priestley preaching that the younger generation has a chance to change, so the inspector of the world wars has shown them So again, ending on something original there is a powerful way of doing it as well. Hopefully that was useful. Again, I would thoroughly recommend you take down both from Facebook and just have a look over them, and you just see which is kind of more towards your writing style and where you might actually want to improve. It might sort of be a great idea for you to actually try and write either this essay or a similar essay, because you can find hundreds of questions online, and try and write yourself a C1 and then try and write yourself an A1 and then see how they compare yourself.